You who are on site today. We are also having a behind the scenes tour at this time, so if you're interested in attending that with our bear curator Sharon, she's right downstairs in front of the viewing windows, some seating there, and she'll go over the lay of the land out back for the behind the scenes tour. Now for the folks who have tuned in online and for those of you who are sticking around for this bear enrichment, my name is Heidi. I'm the manager here. I've been here since about 2011, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the North American Bear Center and our 4 bears. We do have 2.5 acres that our bears are able to ramble through. This center was established in 2007. It was the dream of Dr. Lynn Rogers to be able to provide a place where folks from out of the Ely area can see a bear in their natural environment. So he built this center for people to do exactly that. Live here have 2.5 acres that they're able to ramble through. Now you can see here in front of us we've got a man-made pond for the bears to cool down in when they choose to do so. But much of the lay of the land is all natural, as it was back in 2007 when this establishment was originally built. Because of that, our bears do act just as wild bears do, and they might not always necessarily show these programs conveniently for us to see. Because of the 2.5 acres, there's a lot of space back there, and even though we here as people provide some man-made dens that we think our bears might want to hibernate in, they often follow their wild instincts and are digging or hanging out in dens that they're making out inside the enclosure itself. The enclosure has lots of wild, natural foods that these bears might encounter as well. So in addition to the foods that we supplement for them to try to coax them down to the viewing area at this time, they also are able to feed on wild blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. There's some hazelnuts out there. And fun fact for me, when I first started working here, is I didn't realize that bears would eat as much grass as they do. So it always astounds me to come out in the morning to go to feed the bears and to see them laying on what we call the mound and just eating grass the way that a cow might be grazing out in a pasture. Bears are omnivores, and the less work that they have to do for food, especially with these black bears, the happier they are. So laying down and eating the grass, which what they're really eating from those grasses are the fresh new shoots of grass that come out. So the nice green tender stuff. Think like a fresh salad. That's what they're getting out of this stuff. So there's lots of food out there for our bears to eat in addition to what we supplement them with. Our bears get fed 2 big meals during the day. They get their main breakfast meal in the morning and then another big meal in the evening. We like to call that affectionately their supper. These 2 meals are both made up mainly of a trail mix. The trail mix is very similar to what we as people would eat, except if you take out the chocolate and put in some protein-based dog food, we make it a little bit more healthier for our 4 bears to be eating. We also give them fresh fruits and vegetables at that time too. And then during the programs that occurred throughout the day at the top of every hour here, they often get fed shelled peanuts or other kinds of nuts that are easy to hand feed to them. Thank you for joining us. So we have 4 bears that live here who are missing in action at this time. Our oldest bear is Ted. Ted is 21 years old, and if you stick around for the 2 o'clock behind the scenes tour, you'll definitely get a chance to see him. At 21, he's in semi-retirement. So within our 2.5 acres, we do have some smaller enclosures for our bears to hang out in, and that's where you'll see them when you come along on a behind the scenes tour. And the reasons why we have that is because with the 4 bears, we got 4 different personalities, and to ensure that our animals are safe and happy living with each other. So right now, Tasha is the only bear that's out in the main enclosure at this time. She is 3 years old and has been pretty elusive. They've been trying to get her to go inside a smaller enclosure so we can get out Lucky and Holly. Holly is our 5-year-old female, and Lucky is our 11-year-old male, and give them a chance to come out and hang out in the main and get down here in front of the viewing windows for you all to see. Again, if they don't make it down here at 2 o'clock, there will be a behind-the-scenes tour where you'll get to go up and see the bears for sure. So you will get a chance to see bears here on your visit at the North American Bear Center. I talked a little bit about Ted. Lucky is our next in line for age. He's 11 years old. Both of our male bears came from the state of Wisconsin. Both have been here since 2007 when this establishment first opened. In addition to them, we have Holly. She's our 5-year-old female. And then we have Tasha, a 3-year-old female. Now, the females in the Bear Society are the matriarchs, so they kind of have the run of the land. And Holly, as the oldest female, is kind of the boss of the enclosure. So basically what Holly says goes, and the other bears kind of fall into line according to the laws that she puts down. Right now, she is starting to slow down and get ready for hibernation. As in the wild, our bears here do go into hibernation. So you can see we do have one man-made den, which kind of looks like a cave right down in here in front of us. It's right to the right of the pond if you're looking from the building. We have had bears hibernate inside that den. In addition to that, we also have 6 other man-made dens within this 2.5 acres. However, as I stated earlier, because we provide these dens doesn't necessarily mean that this is where our bears will hibernate. And Holly and Tasha both have dug dens outside the enclosure, and that's where they choose to hibernate instead of going into one of the dens that we provide here on site. In addition to that, another thing that you might see while looking out into the enclosure from the deck or the viewing area is this little reddish looking box down to my right here. This is our scale. We use this scale to weigh our bears once a week. The reason why we do this is we want to make sure that they maintain a healthy weight and they don't gain too much weight too quickly before they go into hibernation. When our bears go into hibernation here, they generally lose between 18 to 22% of their body weight while they're sleeping. So if they get up to, I want to say 700 pounds, they're going to lose, at least 100 while they're sleeping over the wintertime. Now, if my body worked like that, I'd be a little bit happier, but that's just not how our biology is built out. So bears are kind of lucky in that sense. So this time of year, this stage of hibernation is called hyperphagia. So food is super important to bears right now, especially our bears here on site, but even bears out in the wild, which is why you might see them. They might be a little bit more active, and that's because they're trying to pack on as much pounds as they can before going into hibernation. Now, generally up here in the Ely area, bears will start to go into hibernation around the beginning of September. And usually by mid-October, most of the bears up in this area have denned up for the season. Now, then they hibernate, and they don't necessarily sleep the whole time. You can see some different exhibits downstairs that show the behaviors of bears and dens that Dr. Rogers has done with his studies. And you'll see that they're actually awake during those times. Here on site in Ely, it really varies on when the fresh foods are available in the woods. So that can be as early as April or as late as May, depending on how much snow we have in our area. So up here in Ely, again, why do they go in hibernation in September and October? Because the natural foods that are readily available to them are going away. So there's nothing for them to eat. So their bodies are telling them, now it's time for me to go to sleep, go hang out in my den for a while, and that's what they end up doing. So our bears here do the same thing. They go into hibernation. Ted, usually he stays up the latest for us, but the rest of our bears kind of all have a trickle-down effect starting in about September where they really slow down and they start to disappear from the enclosure in our viewing pleasure. So my guess is Tasha right now, who's out in this 2.5 acres, has either got herself a sweet little spot where she's chowing down on some berries, or she's capitalized and she might, go be checking out the behind the scenes that's going on. It's hard to say, but because she hasn't been showing up, they've been searching for her. I'm going with the first one. She's probably got like a berry patch somewhere back in this enclosure that she's just kind of laying down, and she'll eat a little bit, and then she'll sleep a little bit, and then she'll eat a little bit. It's kind of the best case scenario for her because she's able to nap and eat at the same time. And it's a nice day out. I don't blame her for taking advantage of that situation. Again, thank you for joining us here at the Bear Center. If I didn't answer any questions, feel free to find me once I'm done with this. For the folks who are here on site, the wristbands that you have on today admission, just keep your bracelet on, show it to us, and we'll let you come through. Also, if you decide to go across town and visit the International Wolf Center, they have a 4-pack of wolves that are pretty cool to see, and that bracelet that you have will get you $1 off of your admission over there as well. If you've fallen in love with the Bear Center while you're here and you want to visit us online, find us at bear.org. You can view our live cameras, and you can take programs that are going on right now at 11, 1, and 4. Or you can check out Ted's cam and see what he is doing for the day. You know, the cams are able to follow our bears around when they're down in the viewing area. Our next program with the opportunity to see the bears again will be at 2 o'clock, and that'll be a behind-the-scenes tour. Again, thank you for joining us, and have a great day.